Hi, I'm Dwayne Brown. Tonight on KPBS Evening Edition, the search for answers continues. We'll have the latest on the investigation into the bombing at the Boston Marathon, and we'll tell you what's being done to beef up security at events here in San Diego. KPBS Evening Edition starts now.
KPBS Evening Edition is made possible by Joan and Erwin Jacobs and by
Hi, good evening. Thanks for joining us. Still more questions than answers tonight. One day after the deadly bombing at the Boston Marathon, who planted two bombs near the finish line and why? So far, there are no suspects and no one has claimed responsibility. Investigators spent today combing through rubble looking for clues. FBI says the bombs appear to have been made from pressure cookers packed with nails, ball bearings, and other bits of metal. The explosion turned into shrapnel. More than 170 people were hurt in the bombing, and doctors say some of them were hit by sharp objects.
We're now able to confirm that we have removed objects from at least 3 patients that clearly were designed to be projectiles and were built into the explosive device. These objects are ball bearing type or small shot type, just a little larger than BB, round metallic beads. They are about 2 to 3 millimeters in diameter, and we have also removed over a dozen small carpenter type nails.
We have learned a little more tonight about the 3 people killed in the bombings. One was an 8-year-old boy who was there to cheer on his dad in the race. Another victim was a 29-year-old restaurant manager, also a spectator. The third victim had only been identified as a Boston University grad student. 176 people were injured. More than a dozen are in critical condition tonight. The FBI says the bombs were in nylon bags left on the ground. They're hoping information about how the bombs were made can help lead them to whoever made them. Today, President Obama again promised those responsible will be held accountable.
It will take time to follow every lead and determine what happened. But we will find out. We will find whoever harmed our citizens, and we will bring them to justice.
And the president will go to Boston on Thursday to attend an interfaith service. Organizers of Boston's marathon vow to put another race on next year. Here in San Diego, organizers of the Rock and Roll Marathon are beefing up security for their June event. Peggy Pico has more on what's being done to increase security at public events.
San Diego City Council observed a moment of silence today for the victims of the Boston Marathon bombings. Mayor Bob Filner is in Mexico but issued a statement following Monday's explosion, saying in part, "The city of San Diego weeps with the people of Boston, and we stand with you in a nationwide desire and resolve to find a solution to keep random, violent tragedy from striking. Enough is enough." Earlier today, I spoke with FBI Special Agent Daryl Foxworth. Agent Foxworth, thank you so much for talking with us today. Now, when a terrorist attack happens somewhere else in the country, what is the response here in San Diego?
Well, the response here in San Diego is similar to other parts of the country. We have 56 FBI field offices across the country. And one of the first things that we try to do is get a situational awareness out to all those 56 field offices so that everyone starts with a baseline of information as far as what happened, who, what, where, why, and how. Now, we're not able to answer all those questions at this time, so we try to get as much information out that we do know and share that with our FBI field offices. At the same time, we will mobilize resources so that in the event we need to dispatch evidence response teams or special agent bomb techs to an area, they will be on standby and prepared to provide assistance to that field office. Now, our Boston FBI field office is surrounded by other FBI field offices, namely New York, Philadelphia, New Haven, Washington, D.C. So they've already deployed assets and resources to Boston to assist them.
What about coordinating with other emergency services here in San Diego? Do you do that immediately, or is that something down the line?
Well, We just coordinate right now with the FBI resources that we have control over. So if our FBI field office in Boston says we need Special Agent Bomb Tech's expertise, we will assist them with that. If they need expertise from our evidence response teams who have received specialized training in particular areas, we will make that available and we'll provide it to them.
Okay, when it comes to a personal level or a private citizen, what do we need to do to be aware of terrorist activity or potential terrorist activity here in San Diego?
Well, we always talk about having a heightened awareness. And what that heightened awareness means is basically if you see something suspicious, say something. Now, how do you articulate a heightened awareness? How do you articulate suspicious activity? Well, it's activity which is not consistent with the surroundings. For instance, if you work in an area, whether it's a secured facility or you have access to a secured facility, and you see someone loitering around in that area that doesn't belong there, they're asking questions concerning the security there, you need to report that information. Report it to law enforcement, report it to the security department so that they're aware of that.
And if it's just a suspicion, somebody's out of place, a car's out of place, it's okay to just go forward. You're not going to, be considered overreacting.
Not at all. If you see a suspicious vehicle, a delivery truck, or a vehicle that's parked in a particular area for an extended period of time, call it in.
All right, some good advice, FBI Special Agent Daryl Foxworth. Thanks so much for talking with us.
Thank you for having me.
Joining me now is Deepak Gupta, founder of the International Security and Conflict Resolution Program and a distinguished political science professor at San Diego State University. Professor Gupta, thanks so much for joining us. You've studied terrorism for a long time. What is your take on the bombings that happened at the marathon yesterday?
Well, it is an act of violence. We don't know whether it's terrorism or not. The White House is calling it terrorism. And unless they have some very specific information, it's very difficult to say whether it is terrorism or just an act of violence. What is the difference? Well, terrorism is violence in order to achieve some political goals. Nobody has claimed responsibility yet. We do not know of any specific group or an individual responsible for it. Therefore, we don't know whether it's a politically motivated act of violence.
At least we haven't been told. Perhaps
we
the
haven't been told. Yes.
Knows something. Now, I do know this. The Boston attack occurred on Patriots' Day, where the city was shut down. It's tax day. It occurred very near to the anniversary of other attacks on U.S. citizens. What does this say about whoever did this? What message are they trying to send?
It's very difficult to know who the person is or was who sent the message, because we have to know what the motivations are. It can be the work of any of these, patriot groups, white supremacist groups, or even Al-Qaeda. But it can also be the work of a deranged person. The young man who shot up the movie theater in Aurora, Colorado. He had also made homemade explosive devices in his apartment. It's not difficult to make if you really want to do it. So there are wide variety of motivations for people who want to do such a thing, and then there are a wide variety of people.
But the fact that it was done at a marathon, in public and with a lot of people, is the goal of whoever did this to create not only destruction of life, but also a media sensation around this, just to send a message like, look what I'm doing?
Absolutely. Any act of terrorism is a macabre combination of violence and theater. You have to create a situation where everybody pays attention to you. And that is their goal. Now, that can also be the goal of a very deranged person. All these mass murderers, they want to go down in the annals of crime saying, we killed the most people.
So we still can't tell. Unfortunately, we are out of time, and we'll have a whole lot of more information on our website. But Professor Gupta, I want to thank you for your insight today.
Thank you.
The father of a Camp Pendleton Marine is being called a hero for his actions following Monday's explosions. Carlos Arredondo lives near Boston. He and his wife were at the finish line when the two bombs went off. They were handing out American flags in memory of their son, who was killed in Iraq.
When this bomb blew up, pretty much took off at least 30 people right there, and limbs and arms and everything was off. And then a second bomb, just a few seconds later, blew up.
Arredondo says he acted instinctively when he started helping victims. He's made headlines before. He tried to burn himself to death after his son was killed in 2004. Since then, he's worked as a peace activist. You can find our continuing coverage of the investigation at kpbs.org and on PBS NewsHour at 7. Call ahead if you're expecting someone or traveling on American Airlines tonight. Its entire fleet was grounded earlier today because of a computer problem. American's main reservation system was finally fixed by 2:30 this afternoon after roughly 900 flights were disrupted. Passengers have been using social media to flood the airline with complaints. A sweeping immigration reform bill is set to be introduced in the U.S. Senate tonight. It includes a 13-year path to citizenship for those in the U.S. illegally, but only after steps are taken to secure the border. A bipartisan group of senators drafted the bill, and it's already drawing criticism from both sides of the debate. Some conservatives say it's amnesty, while some immigration advocates say it's too punitive. Mayor Bob Filner officially presented his San Diego budget proposal to City Council this afternoon. Peggy Pico takes a closer look at the spending plan and cuts for the fiscal year.
The mayor calls this a transition budget. It includes a $2.75 billion spending plan that focuses on infrastructure repairs and public services, with very few cuts to resolve the city's inherited $40 million deficit. City Councilman Kevin Faulkner joins us with his take on the budget. And welcome back.
It's great to be back.
Good to have you here. Filner's general fund spending plan calls for a slight increase, just over 3% from last fiscal year's budget. It includes a little more than $3 million for capital projects like street, water, and sewer repairs, nearly $2 million to operate the downtown library, just over $1.5 million for arts programs, and another $1.3 million for the emergency winter homeless shelter. And he also included a little over $1 million for police recruitment. Now, Kevin, you've been somewhat critical of this plan, saying that this budget repeats mistakes of the past. What do you mean by that?
I have been critical, and particularly when you look at mistakes of the past, what I'm really focusing on is our cities need to continue with our infrastructure and road repair. This budget puts us backward. The council united in a bipartisan fashion several years ago and said we need to make this a priority. The mayor's budget skips a year in terms of our street infrastructure repair that the council was planning on doing, delaying that bond for an entire year until 2014.
Is it just that the $3 million isn't enough for that infrastructure?
We plan on doing an $80 million bond to get caught up because we've said we have to get back to what our neighbors and residents expect the city to deliver. This budget doesn't do that, and that's why I was very disappointed in that. And the other big thing that there's not in this budget that I feel strongly about, and that I know many of my colleagues and particularly the viewers, is the fact that the mayor is not moving forward on competition for city services to cut government waste. That program was supported by voters overwhelmingly several years ago, and yet it's not contained in this year's budget.
Let's talk about the deficit a little bit. The mayor wanted to use $21 million from the SDG&E wildfire settlements to shrink the city's budget deficit, as he said. Do you think that's a reasonable plan?
I don't. And the reason I don't is because, under Mayor Jerry Sanders to put those dollars in our public liability reserve is because it's vastly underfunded. So we got these dollars in terms of a settlement, one-time monies, and we've been trying as a council to move forward to say we're going to fully fund our reserves. We shouldn't cash those in for ongoing expenses, which is what this budget would do. We've said we needed to fund them and fully fund them. And so that's where I think we should be doing. There's a lot of ways that we can save dollars without cashing in our city savings accounts.
One of the ways to save dollars, according to the mayor, is he proposed some cuts to his political rival, the city attorney Jan Goldsmith, calling for about $1.5 million from the department, which will result in 13 employees, full-time employees, being cut. Do you agree with those cuts? limits?
Well, our city attorney's team does a great job, and I think that proposal, that part of it, was very suspicious. We've been doing a large part to bring in attorney services into the city of San Diego, not relying as much on outside attorneys and contracts trying to save dollars. We got great attorneys that work for us. I don't think you're going to see council support for that.
I was going to say, some people are saying this might be a personal. This is his rival. They've butted heads before.
Well, there's been a lot of back and forth, but I'll let the mayor speak for himself on that one. But I do know the council strongly supports, and I strongly support, the good work of the city attorney's office. I don't think you're going to see that one happen.
Let's jump to the what the mayor called a critical component to a balanced budget, the 5-year pension pay freeze for the city. What does that involve, and do you support that?
Well, the concept of multiple-year deal is a good one, but it's all in terms of what are the terms of the deal. I cannot support salaries that we certainly just can't afford as a city. We've made some tough decisions over the last couple of years in terms of compensation and benefits, and I think we've had to do that to make sure that we pay our employees fairly, but also that we're protecting our neighborhood services and delivering what the taxpayers expect. So we're in negotiations now. That's going to be my driving force, is to make sure that we pay people what we can afford and get the services that we expect.
What portions of this budget would you like to see, or do you support?
Well, we have, like I said, we have some great folks. We have some great programs that are working. But what I don't like to see is the reliance on these one-time revenues, and probably the biggest one is the stopping of competitive bidding for city services, because we just scratched the surface on that in the last several years. We're saving millions of dollars, and there's approximately $20 million more in savings that we can do. And this is supported, as I mentioned before, by the voters who want that. The council wants it. Our neighborhoods deserve it. I think we can cut bureaucracy and government waste and plow those savings back into providing services. It's demonstrated that it should work. We shouldn't turn back on that now.
And the City Council has until June 15th to approve or disapprove all or some of this. We are out of time, so City Councilman Kevin Faulkner, thank you so much for this update.
Great to see you, and I'm happy to come back and give an update.
It's been a year since the city of San Diego approved a law letting neighbors keep chickens, goats, and bees in their backyards. Our Speak City Heights video journalist Brian Myers says the relaxed homestead rules have had a major impact on one area of business, City Farmers Nursery on Home Avenue.
Is this soy-free crumble? Soy-free crumble?
It's not soy-free, just regular.
Starting this business with $200 when I was 16, I never knew it would grow this big. Before the new changes to the ordinances, we had a lot of people that were interested in raising their own food, having their own chickens, bees and goats and stuff. And they were kind of do it kind of stealth. They would come in and they would, get a few baby chicks that we sold. But we didn't sell a lot of things. We didn't sell feed and feeders and all. And with the change in ordinance, now people are able to do it legally with certain parameters. It's really grown. We've always advocated growing your own food. Most of my life, I've lived here at the nursery, eat my own food. My dad, in 1963, bought some property here. It was mostly canyon. He developed it slowly over years. Well, when I was 16 in 1972, I opened the nursery. And at that time, the area was pretty cool. I mean, we didn't have fences. Nobody would cross over the 2x4 gate I had until I got here. The area went downhill for a while. We actually, at one point in the early 80s, we had barbed wire fences around the nursery. But over a period of time, the barbed wire fences came down, and the neighborhood has improved quite a bit. When you own a business, you need to kind of keep an eye on the pulse of the public, and you need to evolve. And so for years, we've evolved into different things. With the new changes in the ordinances, people are now starting to buy chickens and starting to raise them. We sell baby chickens and ducks, and we started carrying organic chicken feed and animal feed, and it's become quite a bit of our business. Being here for 40 years now, owning the nursery, I've seen a vast improvement. I've seen rebuilding, not only in the area of businesses and police departments and stuff, but neighborhoods. Neighborhoods have also, people have taken ownership. I've really wanted the nursery always to be not just a place to buy things, but a destination point. In the year 2000, we were able to open up a restaurant. It was called Nate's Deli. And having the restaurant and the plant material here, it became more of a place people could come and eat and shop, or vice versa, shop and eat.
Nate's Garden Grill is a farm-to-table restaurant here in City Heights at the City Farmers Nursery. We specialize in local organic produce, from local farmers and also local fish. And the idea is just to bring really good quality food to this neighborhood.
So it's all of a sudden becoming a place where you can bring your kids, people can be comfortable bringing their families and just walk around and enjoy, actually really, as our motto is, a bit of the country in the heart of the city. I've had bees for years, and now legally I have bees. I have 4 hives, and with having the hives here and the goats and the chickens, we're able to give classes and to try to teach people the proper way of taking care of these animals, because I feel as though the ordinance change has given us a chance, and I don't want to see the chance being blown and it taken away from us. It's really important for people to know what they're doing. So whether we have a class or people come and ask questions, we enjoy sharing that information so that they're successful with it.
We'll rise to the top, and it will also allow for all the seats to soak.
That video was produced in collaboration with the Media Arts Center. You can find a link to upcoming classes and events at City Farmers Nursery on our website, kpbs.org.
I'm Jeffrey Brown. On the next News Hour, we have the latest on the bombings in Boston. That's Tuesday on the PBS NewsHour.
The Navy has named its newest research vessel after astronaut Sally Ride. She was the first American woman in space and a faculty member at UC San Diego. Ride died of cancer last July. The new ship will be based at Point Loma and operated by Scripps Institution of Oceanography. It will do research ranging from biology to physics. The calming effect of animal therapy was brought to the campus of Palomar College in San Marcos. This is National Stress Out Day, held at college campuses across the country, where many students may be feeling anxious about midterm exams. The goal at Palomar College is to help relieve stress using fur therapy while offering students information to reduce the stigma around mental health disorders.
In our society, somebody can have a broken leg or cancer and everybody's very understanding, but if somebody has anxiety or depression, a lot of people think, oh, just get over it. It's not quite that easy. So we'll give them resources.
And we want to create a comfortable environment where we can talk about depression, we can talk about anxiety and so forth.
Some of the college campuses across the country are holding different events. There are some that hold a scream-a-thon where you just scream. There's some that do this thing where you take your aggression out by kicking soccer balls to see who can kick it the farthest. Here at Palomar College, they're taking a softer approach. Therapy dogs, fur therapy. You feel the fur and you let go of your stress.
Studies show animals have a calming effect on us, from lowering blood pressure to improving our memory and mood. It was the 7th annual National Stress Out event held on college campuses. San Diego weather should start warming up in the next couple of days. Partly cloudy along the coast tomorrow. Clearing later in the week. The same picture for the inland valleys, with temperatures moving back into the upper 70s there. Overcast for the mountains tomorrow, then clearing by Thursday. Sunshine in the desert, temperatures back into the upper 80s. It's bloom time for Joshua trees, the spiky sentinels of the Mojave Desert. This year's prolific bloom is drawing tourists in droves, but Fronteras Desk reporter Jill Replogle tells us it could be a sign of the tree's precarious future.
Among the most bizarre-looking of desert flora. Though they're technically trees, these spiky towers look more like a cross between a palm and a cactus. For a few weeks each spring, many Joshua trees send out large pineapple-shaped crowns of white-green flowers. And this year, the blooms are especially large and widespread.
This is an unusual year for Joshua trees. As far as we can tell, the entire range of the Joshua trees are in bloom right now.
Biologists and ecologists don't quite know what's behind the high-volume bloom. Some think the trees are benefiting from just the right climate conditions, while others think the trees are desperately trying to reproduce, stressed by 2 years of unusually low rainfall.
Sometimes plants will bloom when it's maybe their last stages of life. They put out a tremendous amount of energy and say, well, this is it, I'm done, so I'm going to go out in style.
Some scientists think Joshua trees are a harbinger and a victim of a warming planet. A 2011 study by an ecologist at the U.S. Geological Survey predicted that rising temperatures could cause the trees to disappear from 90% of their range in as little as 60 years. For now, tourists and nature lovers across the Southwest are enjoying perhaps a once-in-a-lifetime phenomenon. Dennis Haynes from Pennsylvania is visiting his family in Southern California. They took him out to see the blooms at Joshua Tree National Park.
It's neat with the trees there, the formations of the rocks, and then all of a sudden you see bright colored flowers popping out. I think it's gorgeous. I can't wait to bring my wife out here to see it.
The Joshua Tree blossoms have this really delicious smell, kind of like peach ice cream. But there aren't that many left in bloom still, so if you want to catch them, you got to come quick or you'll have to wait till next year. Jill Replogle, KPBS News.
Recapping tonight's top story, federal agents know how the Boston Marathon bombing was carried out with pressure cookers packed with explosives and metal objects. What they don't know is who did it. 3 people were killed, including an 8-year-old boy who'd gone to the race to cheer on his father. 176 people were injured. There will be more, of course, on the bombing coming up on PBS NewsHour beginning at 7. You can find tonight's stories and download the KPBS app all on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thanks for joining us. Have a great night.